What's up, guys? Welcome back to Hacks Facts, episode 6, May 31st, 2020. Another very busy week with sports news dominated by Major League Baseball
and the Players Association embroiled in an ongoing, what's been turned into a labor dispute, essentially. And we're watching impatiently as fans and as people in the industry, as we're seeing a lot of players in the minor leagues get cut, get released, get furloughed. It's definitely a tumultuous time out there, an unprecedented time, and we have very few answers as far as on when play is going to resume. We know that spring training, there have been rumors going around that possibly, second, third week of June, they're going to try to get players out there and hope for that July 4th start date. In the meantime, we're still waiting on Frontier League and American Association, independent leagues to unveil their planning and everything, and the NCAA dead period has been extended through the end of July. So for sports fans, for baseball industry people, it's a tough time. And we have another really good guest on today, Luke Barker, who is in the Brewers system. Luke, who's joining us, he was the Carolina League Reliever of the Year in 2018. He's got a great story. And obviously here at Hacks Facts, it's not just that we want to give all baseball industry guys a platform, but he's got a tremendous story, and he's no stranger to the independent league circuits and whatnot. Before we get into that, quick word from our sponsors. We're all about hitting here at Rax Hacks and Hacks Facts, and in order to train at a high level, you need good equipment. You need good quality equipment, good quality wood bats. And for us, that means going over to our guys at American Batsmith in Salt Lake City, Utah, talking to guys like Jake Huff, who put together just the best product on the market, the best, small, as far as, you want to be in business with a good, small company, small business that meets your personal demands and is able to individualize your needs as a hitter. We encourage you guys go over to AmericanBatsmith.com. Check them out on social media. American Batsmith, be distinct. And then our other sponsor, obviously, is Rax Hacks Remote Training. It's very important that people understand, in regards to the college recruiting process, how pivotal video is going to be this year. We just mentioned that the college recruiting dead period has been extended. It's going to be tough to get in front of college coaches. So not only do we do a lot of instruction and training with our video analysis systems, but we put together college recruiting packages. We help package your video and get it out there so that people can see you, can evaluate you, can get interest, and that schools can, you can get the attention from schools that you deserve. Check us out on social media, RAX_HAX. For more information, send us a DM, send us an email. And, you're working with current pro guys like myself and others that have been there, have played high-level college baseball, and can help steer you in the right direction. Anyway, welcome to the show, Luke Barker. It's not every day we get, a current AAA guy, a guy that was in big league camp in 2020. I mean, we're looking down your short sheet right here, and we'll get back to kind of how the journey began. But obviously a very well-accoladed collegiate pitcher at Chico State, two-time first team All California Collegiate Athletic Association. You're all West region, you're all region guy, and you hold the Chico State record for saves. I don't know if people on the East Coast know very much about D2 baseball in California, but you're talking about really good baseball. UC San Diego, some really big-time programs out there. And, Sonoma State, we've had a bunch of guys come through. I've played with some Sonoma State guys, some really good guys that have gotten picked up. Yeah. Second in Wildcats history in career appearances, third in saves, fourth in strikeouts, 257 innings pitched, really good career. And then fast forward to getting through pro ball, obviously you went undrafted, and we'll kind of talk about that. Signed a contract in the Frontier League with Traverse City. Had a crazy year in 16, 0.6 whip in AA this year. So obviously like a high level of consistency. 4 years of minor league baseball, through 4 years, you have a 0.9 whip. So there's no question that you've had a long track record of success. So first off, take us through that. See, I know we're going way back, but like take us through that senior year, going into that first year of pro ball. How the hell did teams miss on you?
I mean, I wish I knew because, obviously I wanted to get drafted. But I think it's kind of what you said. Like, not a lot of people know about Division II, and the guys that are getting taken out of Division II, it's guys that are juniors or guys that throw really hard or something that catches your eye. It's not necessarily a place you can kind of just get seen or drafted just because of your numbers. So that was kind of part of it. Chico's in the very northern part of California, so it's not a place that scouts go to all the time, which is just part of the way it goes when you go to that school. But it's like you said, it was a great program, so there's a lot of things that were positive about it. But I think that was mostly why, because I didn't throw 96 miles an hour. I was 88 to 90, and I was a D2 guy, so that was enough, I think, to not. Those spots that the D2 guys are taking in the draft are already limited anyway. I wasn't an upper level velo guy, and I think that was why.
So what changed between, and obviously you had a very good year in Traverse, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but in short, what do you think changed between, putting up that year in 16, what happened there?
Well, in 16, as compared to my senior year in college, I was still a starter. I started that year in 2015.
Okay.
So that was part of it. In 16 in indie ball, I was a reliever full time. So that was the first time where I saw a little bit more of a velo jump, and then just going to the pen, and then the other main thing is I throw a splitter. That's my out pitch. So in college, I still kind of had a mix, and when I got to indie ball, I kind of realized that the splitter was how I was going to get people out. So that went from, half of the off-speed pitches I threw to like 60% of the pitches I threw in general. So, and that was how I ended up doing so well in indie ball, was the split played well. So,
right.
And that was what ended up getting me picked up, because I had the strikeouts from the splitter. So
right.
I think using that and realizing, okay, this is what I am. This is who I can be if I want to be a pro ball guy. That was where I kind of figured that out.
That's interesting. So obviously with moving from the starting role to the relief role, how much of that adjustment was a mental adjustment as well?
I mean, it was mental. I'd done it in the past because, in my junior year, I was the closer for Chico. And,
okay.
It just so happened my senior year, I needed to be in the starting rotation because that was what the team needed. So I'd done it before. But, it was kind of finally realizing this is what I'm going to be. I need to just buy in completely and do it. So it wasn't so much a mental adjustment as far as like accepting like, okay, this is what I'm going to be forever now.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. What was that experience like in Traverse City? Because everyone has some people have different experiences with indie ball, but what did you think of your time up there?
Yeah, I loved it there. The place is awesome. It's beautiful up there. It was cold in the beginning, but the summer was great. And my host family was awesome. The stadium is awesome. So it's not a thing anymore. Traverse City, they don't have a team there anymore. But
I know.
I'd like you to play there for sure. Because some of the other places in the Frontier League most of them are solid, but some of them aren't. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went up there. I was up there once because I was in Chicago beginning of that season with an American Association team. It's nice up there. It's like vacation land for Midwesterners. So it's July, August. It's really nice up there. But
yeah, I enjoyed it there. It was a blast for sure.
Yeah. Well, did that jump from 16 to 17? So 17, you were in the Midwest League, right? Wisconsin, the Timber Rattlers. How would you say those levels compare? What would you say the biggest differences are between those two?
I mean, I would say they're pretty comparable, other than the fact that you just have more depth in the Midwest League, and you have more guys that are super velo guys or super prospect type guys that are just still young.
Right.
So, that you didn't see that in the Frontier League, but the median level guy of like your normal infielder or like a guy that you would see like 6-7 in the order in the Midwest League, that's probably like your 2-3-4 guy in the
in the Frontier League. Yeah.
And it's just a guy that got pushed out or whatever that, he didn't have a job in high A and he wanted to keep playing. So then he went to the Frontier League. So
right.
I think it was pretty comparable other than I would just say the amount of space you have to breathe in the lineup when you're like as a pitcher, when you're facing you have less room to breathe in the Midwest League. But I think the level of guys, you could find similar guys in both leagues.
Right. You just have a few more Major League Baseball players that are coming through the affiliated ranks.
Right.
That like you said, stuff super prospect stuff or
right.
high ceiling.
You would see random guys that are like, okay, that's the greatest player I've ever seen. Like
right.
when I was in the Midwest League, we played the Astros in Quad Cities, and they had Alvarez.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that guy's a phenom.
Yeah.
I don't see that in the Frontier League, but like I said, the median level guy is
pretty similar. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a misconception as far as what people can. It's nice to get a perspective of someone that's played both, and oftentimes we get guys on, or we get people that have gone from affiliated to the Frontier League or affiliated to the indie ball leagues, but going the opposite way. It's a unique perspective. But so going back to the pitch selection stuff too. That idea of you cultivated that splitter and kind of invested. Not that you're probably a one pitch pitcher, but that's probably a different mindset than what you had in college as far as what you're trying to get guys out with. Is there less of a mindset as a reliever where you're not worrying as much about showing them or not showing them a pitch? Your job is to get them out one time a game. Right. Players typically do better against relievers, throughout the season because they get comfortable they know what to expect. Does that play into your approach as a reliever now?
100%. That's totally. It's like the freedom almost of being a reliever is you get to use your best stuff right away, and you don't have to go. Okay, I need to save my really good out pitch for the third time through the order or whatever. You don't have to game plan that out at all.
Mm-hmm. But that doesn't ever come into your head as far as down the road in, you see a team 3-4 times a year. Does it ever play into that idea of, okay, I pitched this guy, I had success against him with this one approach in the second series of the year a month ago? Because as hitters, we do that. We keep books on guys, and most of us know how a guy pitched us last time. And you don't hear as much of it. The relievers I've talked to have been pretty adamant, this is my approach. I know what I need to do to get, I'm going to stick with what works. Does that doesn't really affect, if you have a power splitter, you have a power pitch, then I could see why you wouldn't change your mindset. Yeah.
I think it, for me, it definitely depends on it depends on the hitter and I think the level I've been at. My awareness of that has changed, and I've been more careful with that as I've gotten higher, because obviously, if you're in AAA and you have a repeatable pattern, you're not going to last. Whereas lower levels, you kind of are just trying to prove yourself, and you don't have time to do anything but throw your best stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're totally right. I think if you're confident enough in your out pitch and you get to the place where, okay, this is where I throw my out pitch, you gotta, as a pitcher, you are still, percentage wise, it's going to work out in your favor if you execute. So yeah, I think it's a factor as far as okay, this guy knows I'm going to throw him this, or I feel like he's going to throw him this, but if I can still execute, I'm going to give myself a good chance to get a positive outcome. So
yeah.
I think you obviously don't want to be repeatable to the point where they know what's coming every time, but it's also, you can get yourself in trouble if you shy away from your strengths, and then you kick yourself afterwards when they hit your third best pitch,
Yeah.
So that would be
that makes sense. So it's definitely a question. You still want to play to your strengths, and we had a guy on last week that was talking about that as a college recruiting coordinator, and was talking about a World Series year they had, where similar concept of making sure that you're not overanalyzing and second guessing yourself into a mistake. But before we get on to the PA, the labor negotiation stuff, tell us about the Dominican experience, and because you played a little bit of winter ball, and then obviously big league camp this year before everything went to, everything got blown up. But what was it like culture-wise going down there and playing in the DR?
The DR is wild. It's they love baseball there, so it's super fun and like it's not. I mean, I heard stories, I heard all these things like it was going to be like, and it was even crazier than I thought it was going to be. But the thing about playing baseball there is you're kind of a celebrity, so they take really good care of you. You stay at nice places, and they make sure that you're well taken care of. But some of the things you see, it's like, wow, this is not what I'm used to. But the stadiums were packed almost every night. Especially when you go and play in the Capitol, that was my favorite, was going on those road trips, because they got a 10,000 seat stadium that they're filling up, in the beginning of December. So it's kind of a weird thing. But it was a blast, and so I would totally do it again.
Yeah. Did any at that point in the year were any major league players, like, not obviously there's major league players playing in that league, but any like big, how some big time guys make kind of cameo appearances, or like they do a week or two towards the end of the year or something like that? Anything along those lines when you were there on your team?
Yeah, when we played, the Aguilas had Carlos Gomez, Luis had Hanley Ramirez, so lots of big names, especially towards the end of the year, towards the end of the regular season there. They bring in those big name guys that have played there for years and years, because one, they're trying to bring fans in, and two, they're trying to make the playoffs. So
yes,
that was definitely a cool thing, because they start to bring in all the horses and try to win those games at the end. So I played in the Atlantic when I was in the Atlantic League in 2017. A lot of the pitchers were like trying to get those gigs towards the end of the. Those are like the holy grail of indie ball gigs, because you can make some money as a pitcher. You guys make a run during the playoffs. I don't think people realize that, but those are good. Those are good gigs, for sure. The playoffs are the way to go there, because they'll pay you more and more as you win. So it's and they want to win. So if you keep doing well for them, they'll pay you. So
yeah, and it's like that in pretty much every winter league in the Caribbean, at least, because there's they care. They want to win their country. They want to go to the Caribbean World Series and make a run. What do you think this effect of the coronavirus stuff on winter ball? Obviously, there's still a lot up in the air, but do you think that if those are the first leagues that open, I got to believe there's going to be a higher demand this year from players wanting to play in those leagues than most years? Would you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think guys are going to try to, especially with the minor league season being gone, there's going to be super limited experience that happened this season, regular season wise. So there's going to be guys that are trying to go down there more than ever, I would say, because one, nobody got paid throughout the year. And a lot of, especially like minor league free agent, upper level, big league guys that are maybe not on a big league deal anymore, those guys were expecting to make a good amount of money, and now they didn't. So, and those are the types of guys that the winter league teams love. So those kind of like 4A in between guys.
Sure.
So I think those types of guys are going to try to get in there for sure. And then, like I said, there hasn't been any baseball. So obviously people are going to try to go down there and play. But I think the Dominican especially, I think they're going to be strict on who they take, because they're going to have the pick of the litter. So
everyone, yeah. It begs the question, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and Brucker and I have actually talked about this, but why there aren't more people trying to create winter leagues in the United States, or even just a growth of winter league baseball. And maybe it will happen now. Conceptually, I don't think that there's a reason it couldn't happen. If you had the infrastructure and you had people funding it, I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know why players wouldn't want to do winter ball in South Florida or like Southern California or Arizona. I don't know. No one's really created that network yet, or that opportunity for guys. But I think there was a push a while ago, and it didn't work very well. But
yeah, I mean, I would be totally in support of that, because I think, especially if they're going to cut out all the rookie ball teams and the short season teams, which it sounds like they're trying to do,
Right.
If you've got stadiums in certain areas that are warm that aren't being used for anything, and you got people that want to invest in that, I mean, I would totally be down. I mean, it might not. You'd have to pay to compete with some of those Caribbean teams,
Right.
But I mean, guys would do it. So I think it's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that before. So
yeah, there's I think a growing demand of people also wanting to stay stateside. As cool as a lot of the Caribbean leagues are, and as unique of the cultural experience and the flair and the passion for the game they have, it's great. These are great leagues to play in. Venezuela getting banged out of the circuit for people. It hurts a lot of minor league guys. It hurts a lot of pro guys. So it's we'll see what happens with that. But moving into this, why so many major league players are frustrated with the current offerings and the current negotiations going on. And just to catch people up to speed real quick, essentially when the season was interrupted at the major league level, the owners came out and said, we'll be happy to prorate the salaries and to do what's essentially a 50-50 split. And based on the fact that you're playing less games. Once it came about, and the association agreed to that. The association was like, yeah, we understand it's an uncertain time. We'll work with the ownership. We'll work around this. Then it comes out that we can't, probably not going to have fans, which has now opened up a whole other universe as far as the terrible things that are happening in minor league baseball. Because without fans, these teams can't really exist except at the major league level. So we have the ownership essentially trying to use like a sports-starved public to reevaluate their offer, make a new offer, and what that's essentially done is calling for a sliding pay scale for players. So that's a very short version of what's happened up to this point this week. And then there's been some big names going out on social media, like Max Scherzer, guys who have important roles in the Players Association, discussing publicly that the ownership is making, they're throwing offers out that the association won't even entertain. So do I have that right? Is that essentially what's gone on up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, to my understanding, that's what it is. I'm not in the union, so I don't get their direct communications. But as far as I know, that's what's going on.
Right. Why do you think it is that so many fans have, other than the fact that they want to play, fans gravitate towards the ownership side a lot, and it's harder and harder, I think, for fans to understand why it is that players are players are taking the stance that they take. Why do you think the ownership has such a pull on fans' popular opinion?
I mean, I think part of it is just, they're loyal to their team. So, the fans are usually fans of, the Brewers or the Yankees or whatever. So they want to see that entity play. So in their mind, the team is that entity, and the players are the ones that are stopping it, which I think is a misconception. But I also think that the way it's been going on is that the league likes to negotiate in the press a little bit. So when everything that you hear from ESPN or from whatever is something that the league has told that media outlet, and then all you hear after that is the player's response to it, it kind of comes across as like, okay, the league is trying to do all of this stuff. The league's trying, and the players are just sitting there saying no. Yeah. And whether that's the league negotiating in the press too much or the union negotiating privately too much, I don't know. But it's kind of that image that comes across as the players are just sitting there like, come and impress us, and if you don't, we won't play.
Yeah, they put them on the defensive.
Really
they put them on the defensive, which and the ownership, to an extent, they own the media company. They have the media companies working for them, and if you can control the media companies, you control the popular opinion. So it's to some extent, which is changing, because you see guys like Trevor Bauer, you see guys with the social media presence, and a lot of people kind of roll their eyes on it, and a lot of I think older major league guys on social media are kind of like, poo-pooing the new guys and the bigs on using social media. But it's not just a popularity thing. It's like you have a platform to use your voice to explain your side, and it's tough because it's tough for minor league guys because you're not in the union. So in respects to what's happening this week, where minor league guys are getting furloughed, and now I think they're going to get furloughed, but they're also going to get released. Like 100, I think in the last 48 hours, there's been over 100 or a couple hundred of players from the A's, from the White Sox, from the Orioles who've all gotten released. And for those guys, you don't really have that same platform. No one really cares, which is kind of messed up. But what do you think? What do you think about this? So, with being an indie ball, a guy that's understood the indie ball circuit, played indie ball. Clearly, they're trying to take indie ball and make indie ball like kind of the direct player development avenue to the AA and AAA levels of minor league baseball. Are they not?
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, if you're going to eliminate everything below single A, then yeah, that's kind of what you're turning it into.
Does it seem like a lot of guys in affiliated ball, or I don't know if guys who are in affiliated ball are getting released? What does the vibe seem like? I don't know if you've talked to guys, but does it seem like they're going to say, you know what, that's it, screw it, I'm done? Or are they going to do what a lot of undrafted college guys do, and that, like you and me, and that's say, you know what, no, I want to go play indie ball. I want to go play, I want to continue my career. What does the consensus seem?
I've talked to a few guys that have gotten released. We had a bunch of guys get released yesterday. So I talked to some, and it's kind of half and half, I would say. Some guys are kind of just thinking like, well, that's probably it. If I get picked up, it's not going to be till next year. So what's the point? That kind of a thing. But there's other guys that are like, I'll find something. I'll play indie ball when it opens up and try to ball out. And then whenever actual minor league seasons begin next year again, then, maybe teams will need a guy. So I would say it's about half and half of that, which usually it's more guys want to keep playing usually.
Yeah.
So that's kind of disappointing for me because those are my buddies, and then
right.
Now they're kind of hanging it up because of this situation. But
right.
I don't know. I think indie ball is definitely still valuable. So I would, if somebody asked me, what would I say? I would say, give it a shot because you never know who's watching or whatever.
Right.
So
especially at like the big three. We're talking about the big three leagues: the American, the Frontier, and the Atlantic League. Most of the organizations, they do treat their players pretty well, and now you're going to have like a surplus of talent that's probably floating around those leagues. So it's interesting because I think that players for a very long time, they felt like if they weren't getting that top dollar investment as a top 10 round draft pick where you make $100,000 as a, whatever, 7th, 8th round pick, it's not worth it because, okay, even if you do get signed later on, you're basically, whatever the mindset is, that mindset is out there. It's like you're going to be a filler player. You're not going to get the attention even if you do well and you perform well and your back's already against the wall. But now it seems like unless you're a top 5 round guy, well, there are 5 rounds this year. Unless you're a top 5 round guy that's demanding a ton of investment, the only other players that are going to be left to get flipped in are guys that are willing to sign for like $3,000 to $5,000. So it's kind of like forcing players to be indie ball grinders. Where if you're not a high investment guy and you're already up top and you're not an indie ball grinder, like those are basically the only 2 positions for the guys on the labor side.
Yeah, they're kind of splitting the gap a lot higher than it has been in the past, and so it's almost now, like you said, you're either going to be a prospect or you're going to be a nobody and potentially an indie ball guy because they don't have room for guys, or they're hoping that they won't have room for guys because they want to get rid of the minor league teams. So, yeah, I mean, I think indie ball is as bad as this is for minor league baseball. This might end up being a good thing for indie ball.
Right? which is confusing for a lot of fans, because fans are going to see teams and be like, I don't even know. Some fans, you know how they are. They still don't even know what these leagues are. But it's a blooming opportunity for these indie leagues to really develop their marketing presence and their brand presence. But
and the other thing I was going to say about that is, like, from an organization standpoint, like the player development people, they're still going to be looking at those leagues, and they're still going to be looking to add guys that are good enough. So just because the ownership wants to have less minor leaguers, that doesn't mean that a player development coordinator or a pitching coordinator or scout isn't going to go to an Atlantic League game and go, okay, that guy can help us right now.
Right.
And so that type of interaction is still going to be there. So I think that's something to remember as far as, like, okay, should I keep playing or not? The player development guys are still looking for dudes. So that is something to remember.
And it's still, and like 10, 15 years ago, I think there were only 3 or 4 teams that had, maybe a little farther than that, but there used to be very few guys that were investing time and money into indie ball scouting from affiliate organizations. Now it seems like there's only 5 or 6 teams that don't, if any. I think, and now I think with this, you're basically getting free player development, so you may as well pay a scout or, I don't know, program a computer algorithm to look at the Frontier League stats every year and then making it out. You know what they're doing now, but there's going to be attention invested, and that's when you were getting plucked out of Traverse City. What was that process like? Was it really straightforward? Were they in touch with you for a while? Was Milwaukee in touch with you for a while?
So I hadn't had conversations with Milwaukee all through the whole year. You know how it is. We had guys getting signed right and left all throughout the season.
Sure.
I had conversations with the Cubs and with the Rangers, but the Cubs didn't end up having any room after all. And then the Rangers came and saw me throw, and I was around 90, and they wanted me to be 95. So that was how those two went. And then I didn't hear much after that until it wasn't until November that my indie ball manager called me, and he was like, "Hey, you're going to get a phone call in like 10 minutes. Don't miss it."
Okay.
So that was Milwaukee. So they had obviously, I think they had seen some video or maybe just been going through stats like you're talking about, and that was how they found me.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of both, like guys coming to see us, but then also people just tracking numbers. So yeah,
and it helps to be a pitcher too, where teams always need arms. You're going to go through arms, and you need more. So they probably looked at, they obviously the strikeouts to walks and the whip and the lower variance numbers obviously stood out. So that's interesting. But what about the coronavirus? Like, are players concerned about their safety? Are players concerned that the leagues and the administrations are not doing enough to, outfit for safety? Because indie guys that I've been talking to, guys are like, dude, it's fine. Let's sign a waiver. I mean, just fine. Sign a waiver. Let's go play. Like, we got to play, because we're every day you're not playing is another day off the prime of your career, which is part of the the major league labor negotiation argument too. Are players concerned about this?
Not as much as you would think. I mean, I think the guys at the high levels that have families, the older guys, those guys are more concerned. But I think most of minor league guys are kind of just saying, like, hey,
we got to play baseball.
I'll stay in a hotel by myself for 2 weeks. Like, I'll do whatever that lets me play, especially if they're going to expand rosters.
Yeah.
So that's more of what I've heard, but there are guys that are really worried about things with their family, wanting to not be away from them, and so that's part of what the union's dealing with. Is they got, the higher paid guys don't want to take those kinds of risks, and the higher paid guys are the ones they care about. So that's kind of a weird thing. But
and the higher paid guys are being asked to take, at least in that initial offering, to take like some of the most substantial pay cuts.
Yeah. I mean, you're asking a guy that's making $20 million to give up 15 of those million. So it's like, of course he's going to say no to that, but it's crazy. It's a big ask for a guy that's making 20 plus million to give up 80% of that. Yeah.
And it's funny because obviously baseball has a substantial antitrust exemption, but in no other industry would the owner, when you own any business, the owners of these clubs, they own the equity, right? And the clubs and the cash flow and all the stuff associated with the operations, like they're the assets. In every other industry, when someone owns the equity, they get the benefit of the ups, and they have to wear it when they have to wear the downs.
Yeah.
Because Major League Baseball has this antitrust, I guess the ownership feels that they have this other ability to make the labor foot the cost of the downs and not take that themselves when there's a decrease in like the asset value. And it's funny because they're also in this position where they're the only league out there that can just benefit from the TV revenue and the sponsorships by themselves. Minor league baseball teams, a lot of teams have lost half their sponsorships this year. I don't think people understand that because there's so many small businesses. If you go to Lakewood Blue Claws, or you go to the Wilmington Blue Rocks or around here, half of the sponsorships are small businesses or local businesses, and they're getting hammered by the coronavirus stuff. So if the sponsorships dry up, that's the other problem with minor league baseball. It's if you run a minor league baseball team, a lot of what you do is you pick up the phone and you're calling local pizza shops and you're calling local businesses because you're like, do you want to sponsor a night? Do you want to sponsor a box? Et cetera. So and yet, so it still seems like I think people are coming around to the Players Association view, but a lot of people are still like, no, you guys are making tons of money and we're not able to watch our sports. You guys are some greedy bastards. And it's like, just think about that,
It doesn't make sense from a labor law standpoint. If you break it, and the reason why people don't have patience for it is because, like you said, they're making a ton of money. But there's a reason they're making that much money. So, and if any other employer in any other industry came to the workers and said, "Listen, you're going to not make what we told you you're going to make because we're now putting it on you," it would never work. So it's something that shouldn't be the way it is. But somehow we're in this system where they get to negotiate the ups and downs, like you said.
Yeah. And I think something like 65% of major league players make less than a very small percentage of major leaguers are actually making that big time money that people think everybody's making. Where, I mean, I've had this conversation so many times with guys where it's like, you're not safe in professional baseball until you make it through. You got to make it through your 3 years league minimum. You got to get to arbitration. You got to make it through arbitration, and then you still have to stick. And that's after years of being in the minor league. So it's like, there are a lot of misconceptions about who's really getting hurt by this, and who's really getting hurt by this are the baseball middle class.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, and the same issues are affecting non-professional baseball players. I mean, look at college guys, less jobs opportunities because the rounds are shorter in the drafts, and guys who are at schools are going to be stuck behind older guys now who have an extra year of eligibility.
Not see the field, not get playing time, and it's affecting people at all levels of baseball. So it's upsetting. But what do you think the solution would be as far as not to obviously not the solution for the major league negotiations, but what do you think can be done in the minor leagues to help guys, subsist, and get a living wage and get more money as far as, how tough it is for guys during the off seasons and everything? What do you think can be done?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that can be done, and it wouldn't be that hard if teams wanted to do it. But I think if you want to start at the simplest level, I think helping guys with housing would be the easiest thing to do, and that wouldn't require any sort of figuring out hourly stuff, figuring out time at the field, anything like that. You could just help guys with their housing, and now immediately you're not throwing half of your already small paycheck into an apartment.
Right.
That's something that could be done in 5 minutes. But so that's where I would ask them to start. But I think there's a lot of other things you could do as far as figuring out a tier system to pay single A guys this, double A guys this, and AAA guys this and work it out so you don't have guys on the AAA roster some are making 25 grand a month and some are making 2,500 a month.
Right.
So, I don't think every minor leaguer should make 100 grand because that's not reasonable, I don't think. But I think you could tier it out so that as you progress through the system, you get rewarded a little bit. So those would be the two things, I think.
Yeah, the housing thing is. Have you ever had a housing situation where you're living with like 8 dudes and it's in a 2-bedroom apartment? Has that happened?
I have, yeah. We've had the old split the living room into 2 bedrooms type of thing.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. And it's obviously I'm sure that was probably an affiliated minor league baseball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that rarely happens in indie ball. Now, obviously, it's a whole, it's a different animal. You're not comparing, but it does the quality of life. At certain indie ball organizations might be better than, some of the organizations in affiliated ball. Now that's going to change because they're one of the arguments that they're cutting all these lower levels so that they can invest more and create a better quality of life for the remaining. It's a tough time for sports fans, and it's a tough time to be in sports industry in general. But why do you think that people will come back to baseball? And do you think they'll come back to baseball if they can't get a product on the field this year?
I think they will. I mean, I don't think people are just going to stop loving baseball if this type of thing ends if the negotiations don't come together or whatever. Because, it's lasted as long as it has. So people love it. And I don't think that's necessarily in danger, but what I think is in danger is this idea of like the image of players as being like kind of our heroes, maybe, like if like teams are taking care of their players and like in baseball is this like awesome environment. If we just give up on trying to play a season this year, I think that might be, a little bit in question, and everyone's going to just view it as, okay, these guys only care about money, which I don't blame them because there's a lot of money to be cared about. But I think a normal person is going to have a hard time if everything else opens up and baseball can't come to terms over this. I think people might have a little bit of a hard time understanding why they couldn't at least get them something, especially when you have other leagues like the NHL is going to do playoffs.
Right.
The NBA is trying to do stuff. So I think there's been concessions made on other sports leagues. If baseball can't, it's going to stick out and people will be frustrated. Yeah.
And there is precedent for, 1980, I think 1981, and obviously the 94, 95 years, and those immediate years right after like the strikes and everything, the fans didn't really come back right away. And we know, you and I both know about 98 and how if it hadn't been for the home run, for the McGuire-Sosa year, that like baseball was very much struggling in those mid to late 90s years. People were just pissed. But I think they know that. I think part of it might just be that it's bad because it's in the media and it's bad because they're leaking information, but there's got to be level-headed people on both sides that I think want to put product on the field. They want to play baseball because the players, the longer this goes on, the players have less and less leverage. You guys have all the leverage when the play is happening on the field, and it's tough. Did you ever think that in 16 that you'd be in big league camp 4 years later?
Oh no! I mean, I have lots of moments where I'm out there and I look around and I'm like, geez, like I gotta remember the last 4 years and where I've been, because there's times where you're out there like, God, I don't want to shag BP or whatever. But you're shagging BP in a AAA stadium, so it's like this is pretty cool. So I have tons of gratitude and appreciation for how I made it through all of that, because I know hundreds of guys that would kill to do some of the things I've gotten to do. So I'm very grateful. And I appreciate the indie ball route because no one gave me a shot. I had to go to I played in the California Winter League in this February of 2016, just begging for somebody to give me some sort of shot, and Traverse City gave me a shot. And so now and that's some of the things I think out of this situation that might be positive is like that other side of baseball might gain a little bit of ground as far as like, okay, there's a place for guys to go to give you a shot. And that's all you can really ask for. And it might not work out, but at least you got a shot. So for me, as somebody that benefited from that, I'm hopeful that indie ball will get stronger from this and more guys will get shots. You know, there might not be as many jobs, but maybe more guys will get a shot from that side of things. So
it's awesome. It's awesome. Luke, I really appreciate having you on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it's great to see, you know, the mindset of the guy that grinds and keeps pushing through and is committed to their, you know, to their vision and you know, look at the journey that it's turned into, and it's yet another really amazing story. So we really appreciate having you on, and you know, appreciate your insight on the ongoing labor negotiations, and we're sure people are going to continue following along with that. We'll get Luke's information up for you guys on our social media posts and everything. And then when you're seeing this will be live on our YouTube account at Rax Hacks Remote. Make sure anyone out there, you guys are liking and subscribing our videos to our account, and you know, check us out at Rax Hacks, RAX_HAX, and then, you know, definitely follow along with Luke, and we'll be posting some updates about guys, you know, that have been on the show, and you know what they're doing, you know, what they're up to this season. Assuming, hopefully, there will be baseball this season to be updating people on. But no, it's great to hear another perspective and have you on, man. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.